Hello, I will be showing 4 different ways of handling input in Godot. Generally, each next one is better than the last. And so the setup for this is pretty simple. It's just a control node with 3 color X, 1 red, green, and blue. The idea here is to just show input by having it so when you hold R, G, or B, it shows the respective color rect. The setup for this is very simple. You just have the references to the nodes, and then on ready, you just set them all invisible. Only difference is, except for one script, is the input handling. So the first input handling example is, I suppose, the naive example, where you take the event key code, and if it's the right key and it's being pressed, you set it to be visible. Else, if it's the key and it was released, it's invisible. This is bad for a number of reasons. One is because it's not key agnostic. You're hard coding the keys, so it makes it a pain for the programmer to change keys. And if you don't have the option to change the keys, then that's not good for the player experience. It's also bad because it's using an if statement. Because if you just press like some random keys like that, it will it will fire all of these. It'll check every single one of these conditions every single time you press a key. Which sure, it's 2025. It's not that big of a deal, like performance wise, but it's still something to keep in mind. Here's it in action. The bigger problem here is that it's really ugly. And in order to change it, you have to change here, 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 here. If you want to change the key, you have to change it in 2 places. If you want to change the actual node, you have to change it here. You have to do that multiple times. It's a massive wall of text, and it's ugly. For this example, it's the same principle. It's using an if statement, but this time it's actually key agnostic because we're using the input map, where you can set keys to specific actions, so you can then change the key without changing the entire code. It's the same principle. If you press the red action, set it visible. If not, make it invisible. It's the same thing. Still has the same issues of just being a massive wall of text and also firing unnecessarily, checking all 6 outcomes if you press a random key. Now this example is using a match statement. Just the way match statements work is that if the condition is met, it immediately goes to that area. So the check for this is that you have this function where it takes the key code and whether it's being pressed or not, and you can use that to set the visibility, because if it's being pressed, then this will be true, so it'll be visible. And if it's released, then it will be invisible. The problem here, though, is that it's not key agnostic, but it's also a lot smaller and a lot less places that you have to change code if you need to. And it's more efficient because, say, if you press B, then you're not having to check this condition or this condition. It just immediately goes to it. Here's this working. Now, in order to make this work with the input map, you have to do a bit of finagling, and it makes it a little bit less efficient than this, but it's still more efficient than either of these. So what you need to do is you need to have an array of the names of all of your actions. So I have red, green, blue. And then what you do is you loop through the array, and if the event is the action, then you key match on that. You do the same key match function, except that you do it with a string instead of the key. The reason you have to do this is you can't generically ask if an event is an input event action. Like you can do this, you can see if it's a key event, but you can't just take an event and ask if it's input event action. Now you have to do it for specific actions. You can't generically ask, sadly. So this is less efficient than this, but it's also key agnostic, so I think it's the best method. But I think this is definitely much better looking than this.